Hello, everybody. So, me and Rufa are back again. This time not with Dead Space, but we're going to talk about Resident Evil 7 and like its ending, its story, its graphics, gameplay, blah blah. Kind of like a afterthought review thing.
Yes, we're going to. The first part of this video is going to be spoiler free, so if you haven't played it and you're still on the fence about it and you want our recommendation, just listen to the first bit and then we'll say when we start getting into the stories and spoilers, and then you can turn it off from then if you want. As you probably guessed from the black screen or whatever I've put there, there's not going to be anything to look at in this video, so minimize
Put a
it,
silly picture.
do something else. Yeah, put it Grigno on or something.
Yeah, Greg, no, that's all right.
So Silent Hill, no.
What? Silent Hill?
No, yes, that was the point. Resident Evil 7. We both let's play it.
Yeah.
We picked different stuff, somewhat.
Did we? I mean, it's pretty linear.
Yeah, I promise not getting into spoilers, so I shouldn't have mentioned that at all. But anyway,
You're very good at this,
yes, Silent Hills, right?
right?
So that came out, the little playable teaser trailer. What was it called? Teaser trailer.
So, yeah, it's called PT. I've actually got it on my PS4. I never played it.
Yeah, it came
Great
out saying that the next Silent Hill game would be first person. And something that worried me when I heard immediately after that was cancelled that the new Resident Evil would be first person would be that they rushed quickly to make that game to capitalize on the hype for Silent Hills to make Resident Evil 7 and sort of have the same type of game and unhype. What are you doing?
What?
You fiddling with something?
Me?
Yes.
Or the cat?
You have a cat?
No, your cat or me.
Okay, no, you.
Oh, I was just moving back in my chair and it kind of creaks sometimes.
It's your back. You're old. Yeah.
Yeah, see?
So, yeah. What did you think about it?
What, the whole Silent Hills to Resident Evil 7 thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll share like similar sentiments with you there.
You have
I wasn't too keen on the I still not really. I'm just not on the whole first person thing. I am and I'm not. That's something I guess we'll get into in a minute. But certainly Silent Hills looked intriguing, but didn't look intriguing enough for me to even bother playing the demo I downloaded. Like,
I thought you played it.
No, I've got it downloaded. I haven't played it yet. It's just
Oh.
still sitting there on my PS4 like a toad that stares at me every time I boot up. But I don't know. It just that. Generally speaking, what's the right word? I like the routine. I like the traditional. I like my Resident Evil's third person. I like my Silent Hill's third person. But I was intrigued to see how it would work, and the result of what we get. I wouldn't say I was particularly worried because, I mean, to be fair, the last mainline Resi was 6, and it can't get much worse. So
that was shit.
yeah. I mean, it's funny.
Did Revelations 2 not come out after 6?
It did, but that's not a mainline, is it? It's not a numbered sort of entry.
Is to me, clutch my heart.
To be fair, I mean, we had so much fun with Revelations 2 that it was just. I mean, Resi 6 is hilarious, but Revelations 2 was a great game.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, what the fuck is Resident Evil? Is it is it the first fixed camera angle games? Is it Resident Evil 4 to 6? Is it the Resident Evil shooter games? Is it Resident Evil Gaiden? Is it Resident Evil the fucking movies to keep Mila Djokovic and her husband employed?
He should make Event Horizon 2.
No, he shouldn't. It was a fluke. He made one good movie, and it wasn't probably actually good if you watch it again, and he's just bad. Anderson, you're shit if you're listening to this. Go.
This is where he sits, sobs a single tear, goes back to his rich mansion full of Resident Evil memorabilia.
Yeah, so a lot of fucking complaints to Silent Hill 7 is that it isn't silent. Shit! The Resident Evil 7 is that it isn't Resident Evil, but
Silent Resident 7 isn't Hill Evil.
What the fuck does that even mean anymore? Anyway, what Resident Evil is.
I see what you mean. Yeah, like a complaint being it's not a Resident Evil game, quote unquote, because it's different. Well, I mean, you're right. Resident Evil reinvents itself every 3 entries or so, anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, chances are they'll probably roll with this for a bit, I guess.
I really miss the old fixed camera angles, but that's just me. I mean,
Remake was just like,
fucking 4 is a good game. 4 is a good game, yeah, but the reason I'm angry about 4 is the fact that it exists in place of a Resident Evil genre type game that does not exist without Capcom doing it. Those don't exist anymore because they made 4. That's why I'm angry with 4. Not because 4 was a bad game, because it wasn't. But because that genre is gone.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean there. Like, we lost some Resident Evil, quote, traditional Resident Evil, because the action style came along. And I feel that the scarier, again, debatable, scarier side of Resident Evil was lost when 4 came along as well for the action side.
Yeah.
And again, there's nothing wrong. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is almost objectively a masterpiece. It is an incredibly good game. I mean, it's well known to be an incredibly good game. 5, less so, but it's pretty funny in co-op. And 6 was just, well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we also got Revelations 1 and 2 out of it, which are also really good. So, I mean, as a style,
Yeah.
I certainly like it.
Now that you mention Revelations, as far as I remember, the director for that is the same guy who did 7, and it sort of shows in the enemy design.
Oh, you mean with the way rather than fish sloppers, it's mushroom sloppers?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that actually. Yeah.
The very first enemy in Revelations 1 is very much like the bog standard enemy, without spoiling too much, in 7. To a certain extent, and it had boats.
I gotta be honest, on a side note, I'm still incredibly impressed by that 3DS version. It's quite a work of achievement. It really is.
I never had a 3DS, so I don't really know what to compare it to.
It's probably still one of the better looking games on the system by quite a substantial
kind of
amount.
Like how Remake was on the
like on GameCube. Yeah. It's what they did with it, presumably with smoke and mirrors and a lot of very clever tricks, especially the smaller rooms. But it is very, very well done. Like very clever, very easy to control considering what you're doing. If that makes sense.
Had some of the worst characters though, but we're not talking about that specifically.
You mean like Ginger Guy?
Ginger Guy, Jackass, and I think Grinder or whatever the other that program that locates gay men.
I think that's Grinder, yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Is that his name?
Yes.
Huh.
But that was the less annoying of them. Jackass was the complete imbecile.
I just remember the woman with half the swimsuit
Jessica,
on.
I think.
Yeah. But then you had the other one had literally half a swimsuit on because it seemed to be unzipped down the front.
And then the guy with the hair that sort of stood out to one side, like it was a fucking L block from Tetris that just rested on his head.
You know what? Now I really want to play Revelations again. Anyway, we should probably talk about Resi 7, which is what we're...
it's gorgeous.
Well, graphically,
yes,
yeah.
It looks really good.
Oh, yeah, it is. I've seen the console version, so a friend has one, and even on the consoles, it is an incredibly pretty game. It is very, very well done.
I usually gag slightly with console ports, but the PC version doesn't really suffer from consolitis.
Capcom's ports are good. They have been for a long time.
There are some things, there's small things with the UI and things like that are a bit iffy.
Yeah.
But,
Definitely.
I mean, generally, it plays pretty well. You can sort of feel it's made for VR as well.
No, you can smell the VR on it, like some sort of fishy stink. It's
I don't know. I kind of like what it brought with it.
I think it was just so in your face with the VR. I mean, sorry, jokes aside there.
Yeah.
Like the whole Jack grabbing you, turning you around. You know, it's just
For
so
that stuff, yeah.
up in your grill all the time. It's obvious. It's meant. You know, when you go see a 3D film that's obviously been changed for 3D later.
Yeah.
And you got like a snake that jumps in the screen really fast or something. It's like
Yeah, things like that. Yeah, those things were not so good. But I mean, okay, for those of you who don't know, Resident Evil 7 is it a PlayStation? It's VR exclusive for a year before you're allowed to play in VR on the PC. And we both let's played it on the PC, so we have not experienced the VR. So we can't speak to that.
We're just talking out our ass here, but like certainly how it looks from a non-VR perspective, you can see it's had that 3D film taint on it. If that's what it reminds me of.
But the VR also added some things that I kind of liked. I mean, you having to look around and you being able to move your head quite a lot even when you're stuck in certain animations, which I really like, because usually what takes me immersion-wise out of something like that is if I know I'm locked in a cutscene, but if I can look around, even if I am locked in a cutscene, it gives a little more. Because
I guess, but you can kind of look at Ethan's stupid shoes.
His shoes are alright.
Yeah, he didn't get mucky. I don't like it.
No,
they're all really clean.
Repellent shit. You put
what do you mean they like sprayed on them or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
And his shirt.
I like looking down in games. I like the Predator and Alien vs Prey has really nice legs. It's nice.
Yeah, and infinite shirts, just like Jack had infinite glasses.
Oh yeah, his armor shirt's been ruined again. No, he just takes off another shirt underneath.
Grows out of his face.
That'd be great.
It without going too much into the story, the baseline of the story is very Silent Hill 2 in the beginning, at least. Man thought he lost his wife. Less definite than.
Oh, I'd say the only connection to Silent Hill 2 is the fact they both got wives in. I don't know.
They got wives, and he's out looking for a wife that he thought was dead.
Was dead, yeah, I guess, yeah.
But Ethan, the main character in 7, is a guy who lost his wife at some point. She went missing, whereas Harold, or whatever the fuck he's called in...
James.
James. His wife died. So he sort of was there when she died.
A little bit puzzled by the fact he got a letter from her.
Yeah, so that's a little bit weirder, but it quickly...
Yeah, I guess, I mean, the stories certainly start off in a very similar fashion. Wife is, for whatever reason, been zipped away somewhere. Then they get a message from wife to go to a place that is potentially dangerous, that neither realize is going to be at the time.
Yeah.
So they both come unequipped to deal with any danger.
It's actually got... the story is divided, I would say, into 4 acts that have different themes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
First theme is sort of Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
Massacre, weird hillbilly.
Apparently it's redneck. I got corrected on this. Apparently hillbillies is literally is the hill.
Is there any sun penetrating the bayou bog?
What? Yeah, I mean, Louisiana's really sunny.
Well, so he gets redneck.
I've been down that way. It's really
all right then
muggy,
redneck
sort of
or whatever.
Swampy, some might say.
Yeah, and then the second chapter is I'm not sure about the acts there, but the way Resident Evil games usually go, they have 3 acts. They have residential area that seems normal but isn't, like the mansion in 1, and then sort of warped living quarters, and then it goes to lab.
Yeah, I suppose it follows that theme to it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we warn about spoilers now, or we're getting to start to talk about?
I think we should probably say whether or not we recommend the game or not before we, so that the people who
want to zip off. Although, admittedly, I think most people have probably seen both our Let's Plays who are watching this.
Probably.
We should be alright.
Yeah, so I would recommend it. I like it.
I like it. If I was to slap a number on it, 7.
How much?
It's a 7 out of 10 if you like, a 6 out of 10 maybe. Like it's a good game. I feel it suffers towards the end, which is probably something we're gonna have to discuss. But
yeah,
I liked it. I did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a difficult game to judge because it starts off really strongly, then it gets not so strong, and then it's sort of ass towards the end. So when you leave the game,
you feel a bit sour about it.
Yeah, you end up with a bad taste in your mouth. But it's easy to forget that you actually had fun with it in the beginning.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of very, very good, very strong stuff at the start.
Yeah.
Though I will say, I didn't think it was particularly scary, at all. I think tense.
I thought it had atmosphere.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but I certainly think it was. What's the right word here? Well, I guess tense works as good as any. It just doesn't. It doesn't bring enough to the table that makes it scary.
No, it fails to capitalize on the tension often. It's usually tension, jump scare, and then you just go, oh, for fuck's sake.
But even the jump scares are kind of expected at that point, so they kind of lose their impact.
And a lot of the jump scares are, I would say the scariest stuff is stuff that isn't scripted. Most of the jump scares are...
The random stuff, yeah.
Yeah, person is suddenly behind you, turns you around, and is completely 3D, made for VR, in your face, and goes, booga, 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 son. And then you go, oh, for fuck's sake. And it takes you out of the action. I feel like the dynamic stuff that happens, it's a lot better. You're sneaking around in a house, trying to avoid some dude. You open the door and he's right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but he's just there.
Bingo. Yeah. I feel, like I said earlier, the VR stuff kind of takes some stuff away. I don't think it works particularly well. It just smells like inserted VR cheese.
I think Outlast probably has some of the in-your-face stink on it. They did that a lot, and I don't think that game was for VR. It was also first person.
I haven't played Outlast. I've seen some bits of it. I haven't played it myself.
It does the same thing with things in your face. I haven't played it either, but I've seen bits of it, and it just looked like jump scare simulator. But then again, if I enjoyed Resident Evil 7, I might actually enjoy Outlast as well. So I might give that a look.
I've been told that that Outlast is decent. So
yeah, it's supposed to have a decent story as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go. Right.
Well, yeah. So yeah, I think about 7. There's decent replay value in it, I would say. There's a thing that unlocks at the end once you go through it called Madhouse, and it's not just your normal hard difficulty. It is actually a lot of stuff has been changed around in the game. So you going through it the first time, a good example of this being done in a previous game is the very, very first Resident Evil game had a dog jumping through a window scaring the shit out of you, most people in a corridor. Then Remake came along, which was the same game remastered and changed slightly. And when you go through that corridor the first time, you're expecting the jump scare, but then it just goes plink and a little bit of the window is punched in, and nothing happens.
It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing happens.
Yeah, because of course, going into that, especially if you played the first, you expect that dog. Doesn't happen. You let your guard down afterwards as well, which then leads into...
Yeah, you come back through that corridor and then the dog comes out. Just after you
and then you wee yourself slightly.
Yeah, Madhouse does that quite a few places in the game, where there are bits in the game where you receive jump scares or enemies arriving at certain points, and then it goes, didn't happen anyway, and you go, what the fuck? This isn't how it was before. I was expecting more health on enemies, less ammo, shit like that, but this is weird. This is not what I expected, and then it hits you. And that's quite cool. It doesn't do it enough to be really cool, but it does it quite a lot, so there's decent replayability.
Yeah, I'm always of a mixed mind about this kind of thing, especially with horror games. I feel, even with that mode, I don't feel that most horror games have a reasonably decent replay, at least anytime soon after the first playthrough.
I would say this is actually a decent attempt at it, considering most Resident Evil games, their replay consists of going through the game again with the weapons you unlock for beating the game once or by speedrunning it. So it's like, infinite rocket launcher running through and just blowing people up left and right for fun. It's like, okay, sure. And then there's this that actually adds not quite new content, but it does
something different.
It does enough to the old content to fuck with you, and I like that.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I just realised I interrupted you, and you were talking about your 4 parts of the game. You had the redneck Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I realised that was a bit spoilery. So
let's open the spoilers then. We need to, otherwise we're gonna be here forever.
Yeah. Okay. So spoilers.
Cool.
Ethan gets quite a lot of health back, doesn't he?
Quite a lot of health back. What you mean, just generally, or
he can take quite a punishment.
He can, yeah. I don't like the health system massively. I feel the combat, certainly the melee side of the combat, so to speak, I don't find particularly interesting.
Yeah, there wouldn't. I don't think there.
Hold spacebar, but there's no finesse to it. Hold spacebar at any point during the strike, and you will take less damage.
There is some stuff you can do. I found it really cool that the attack is not just... It doesn't just target you, but if he's swinging for you, you can actually duck under the attack and usually go past someone. That's cool.
I mean, it's certainly like physics-based in that sense. Like, if you physically dodge it, it's not going to hit you. There's a
hitbox swinging over you, and not just jack targets.
It's not MMO-based, calculated before it strikes, But I don't know, just... The combat was certainly serviceable, I think, would be the kindest thing I can say about it.
I mean... The main problem with the melee was that there was only one enemy type, really, that it worked against, and those were the bugs that flew around you. Those were the only ones that were viable to melee. Not the spiders on the fucking closet. That was stupid.
I meleeed those.
Yes. I don't know. There's a lot of enemies where the melee seems kind of pointless, but it might just be me not being able to weave them properly.
No, I don't think... Just... Why? I mean, to a certain extent, I agree. Like, why would you melee something that has a claw the size of a small house? You wouldn't. You'd shoot it, but...
Well, of course, I did the hardest Resident Evil 0 and killed a tyrant with the knife.
Yeah, and I saw, and you died like 50 times.
No, I fucking didn't. Died once.
You did?
Died once.
Your longest video I've ever seen.
No, I died 50... No, not... That you're talking about the leech. I died 5 million times. Anyway, yeah, I feel like they did a some stupid shit with the enemy variety. Okay, so there are basically, I would say, how many enemies? There's Jack, there's Margarine, or however the fuck you pronounce it. There's kind of Lucas.
Nah, he's not an enemy. He doesn't ever engage you physically.
Yeah,
It doesn't count.
he doesn't really.
You got Jack, you got Marge, you got the slop monsters.
Yeah, and then there's 3 varieties of.
Yeah,
Slopper.
you got regular slop, you got clawed slop, and you've got crawly slop.
Yeah, and fat slop. So
fat slop. That's
yeah.
four. So he's a boss sort of slop, isn't he?
The thing about the sloppers, which are, I feel like they're the scarier enemy in the game.
Definitely.
But the way they did it mechanically with them. Okay, so it's probably some background information here. Jack and Margarine generally have sections in the house where you are in a big semi-open area of a house, and they are roaming around looking for you. So you have to go around doing puzzles.
Semi-roaming as well. They teleport to you after certain things, which is a bit irritating.
It's kind of like haunting grounds. They're meant to be at certain points in the plot, so they will be there.
With less bouncing breasts, though.
Yes, maybe. I don't know. But Margarine had her vag out.
What were the bugs?
Yeah. Well, no, you could actually see she was split down.
I was more. To be honest, I was less horrified by Marge, mainly because I didn't think she was scary at all, and the friggin' bugs themselves I didn't care for at all. I don't like flying waspy bug things.
Not
a big fan.
That's sort of like the second section's in the house where you get to is it the main house, the old house? That's
the old house, yeah.
It's full of insects, and that's the typical Resident Evil thing where they go, okay, so
Act 2 insects, yeah.
Normal phobias here. We got wasps. We got spiders, and then they just slap those in there, just to make sure that
it's a catch-all for phobias.
Someone needs to have them. I mean,
I could literally spiders, right? You could park me a giant spider out myself, so outside my house, stick a saddle on it. I'd happily ride it to work. Wasp on the other hand, no, they're just hideous.
Yeah, I mean, Jack wasn't scary either.
No, he's not. No. I don't. Marge. It's kind of. I think I might be slightly tainted because of the bug thing. Again, I don't think she was scary. I think the sections were tense. But Jack's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately ruins it a smidge.
He's got this goofy Bayou accent, and
where are you, boy?
And it's like, I mean, kind of like with you and the wasps. I think if you had a rapey uncle or something, he might be scary. But unless
all those horror films, if you like the Hills Have Eyes and stuff, if the sort of like the horrible redneck thing scares you, then I think that might be,
Yeah, but he sort of chases you around, and I feel like the mechanics around him are sometimes good. It's weird because Resident Evil 7 is close to being a great game, but it ends up just being somewhere between good and average, depending on which section you're in.
Yeah.
And Jack's AI feels very much like that. He wanders around looking for you, and he will sometimes appear at certain sections and chase you. If you're spotted by him, he will chase you around. And the easiest way to get rid of him is either exploiting him or knocking him down by headshotting him a lot. I feel like this was kind of bad because we talked about this in the Dead Space Let's Play when we did that. I talked about the dismemberment mechanic not really meaning much.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 7 is a good example of that because if you look at someone like Jack, it's very inefficient shooting him anywhere but in the head because that will knock him down and you'll be able to get past him. You can't shoot him in the leg, at least to my knowledge, to knock him down and then run past him, but just slow him down so he can't chase you. That's out the window, which is really weird because that gives you things to work with. It's the same with the sloppers. 3 headshots on normal, the sloppers die. And the head just
roughly.
Pop. Yeah, and
4 sometimes I think with the normal ones.
Yeah, the game was all like, yeah, you can shoot the arms and legs off and stuff like that, but there was no point. A leg is just as difficult to hit as the head most of the time with the way they move, and popping a leg off or killing it outright. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to kill it outright every time because there's no point in doing the leg.
To be honest, there's no point. The stalkers, there's no point shooting them. And especially with what you mentioned with the exploit with the save rooms, there's
Yeah.
no point doing anything with them at all. You aggro one, you run to a save room. Let's be honest, if I wasn't recording, I would have probably done that way more.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't know, sometimes they can corner you. Sometimes you'll need to kill them to do stuff. The game has a really nice balance, I feel. In normal Resident Evil games, well, normal. I think whenever I say normal, I think immediately of Remake 2, 0, and 3.
And Code Veronica, I guess.
I've never played that, so I can't speak to that.
That's good, that is.
Yeah, I heard. But it was console exclusive for a long, long time, so I never touched it.
Was it?
Yes. And there's no PC version.
Oh, I played them all on the GameCube back in the day. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Anyway, so fuck my brain.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
that's
Okay.
nice.
So yeah, the game would usually be about Resident Evil. Back then was more puzzle than anything else. You would have to manage your resources, look at the map, go, okay, so there's a guy in this and this corridor. I'm going to pass through that corridor a lot, so I might as well kill him. Or they are in a good spot, so I can dodge them. Stuff like that. And you would consider, could I run here and here? Could I make it there and there? I have this much money, I can go there and there. But in this, the way the enemies are, if you run into you can usually dodge them. The sloppers are very easy to dodge if you know their attacks.
And especially with the segmented nature of the rooms. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the sloppers can't do doors. They will not follow you in. Sometimes
also, invisible walls as well. I found out during the chase sequence at the end. There's certain points they just won't follow you past.
Yeah, they don't do terrain very well. It's the same
To
with
be honest, they don't really do a lot very well.
No, it's a bit of a shame, because if a slopper could just, you would go, okay, I didn't kill him in that corridor, and then he would just be in that corridor forever because you didn't kill him, and you would have to go past there a lot of times and dodge him every time and potentially get hit. That would be cool. They sort of kind of do that sometimes. A slopper can be assigned to a corridor. He will be there sometimes, and sometimes he won't spawn. The problem with that is if you shoot him twice in the head, run out the room, run back out, you'll have regenerated the health. So it's sort of like, I'm not sure you can shoot the leg off and he gets it back. I think he will stay legless.
From what I gather, there's no point shooting them anywhere except the head. Like, you can shoot them down to like slow them, but ultimately, why? Like, you gotta. It's the same with this Dead Space thing we were just doing. Like, why bother?
Yeah.
There's no real need. So
No.
you don't shoot the stalkers. You shoot the sloppers in the head, and everything else you don't bother with.
With Dead Space, there is sort of a need because they won't die until a certain number of limbs have come off.
That is true. Also, they can follow you through doors, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's sort of a contrived mechanic. That's the game arbitrarily forcing you to do that, not because it makes much sense.
I still prefer that to what they did with 3, where you just shoot in the center and it just snuffs it.
Yeah, well, I think they always did that. If you did enough damage to the body, and
but it was a substantial amount compared to the limb.
Yeah, you had to use a lot of.
Whereas this is just aim, shotgun, spacebar, spacebar, spacebar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ethan heals a lot when he goes through the game, and I think it's a poke at Resident Evil and the usual health. The way healing works is like, oh, a fucking tyrant shanked me with his massive claw. I'm just snort this. This green herb. I'm ready now. My leg's back on.
Sorry, I keep thinking of that, and I keep thinking of Wesker, where he gets like his lungs punched out with a tyrant, and then tries to argue that was part of his plan all along. It's like, you ain't fooling anybody, Wesker. You got slapped and weren't expecting it.
It depends.
He tried to explain it later. He's like, this was all part of my plan. You're like, it wasn't though. No one plans to get their lungs punched out.
Well, sort of, kind of. I don't think it was his plan getting stabbed, and he doesn't in Remake. He does in the original. He gets stabbed through the heart.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, whereas in Remake, he gets slapped.
Because Birkin had just given him the thing that will allow him to regenerate after that, but then I don't know. It's not very consistent.
I want Wesker back.
Yes,
I like Wesker.
he was all right.
He's a good man.
Fuck you, Chris.
I have to be honest. I was hoping among hope at the end. Helicopter drops down. Man takes off his mask. It's just, and then he's got the sunglasses underneath his mask.
Yeah. But yeah, Ethan loses an hand pretty early in the game, and it gets stapled back on.
Yeah.
And he then, he can pretty much just pour healing juice over him. himself and heal from any wound, pretty much. He also
Healing's annoying. The animation takes way too long. It's just
apparently you can block cancel out of it.
You can. It's just silly. Like, bleh.
Yeah, I mean,
especially the way damage is basically one hit to one heal roughly of one major shot.
So there's two ways of telling whether or not you're damaged as well while we're on that. There's the watch on your hand, which is the good way, and then there's the fucking marmalade smeared across your corneas.
I hate slop juice on corners. It's so annoying.
Yes, especially because it doesn't fucking go away. There's even an option to turn down how much there is, and I did that, and it was still a lot. And any nick, if he bangs his toe, if he gets an ingrown nail, there'll be slop on the screen for fucking ever. You look at the thing on your arm and it says green, full health.
Yeah, but it is a tiny bit of slop. But it's just I blame Mass Effect for that.
Mass Effect isn't COD what started that?
I think so, but I like blaming Mass Effect for things.
Okay, we blame Mass Effect.
Nice, thanks. I appreciate that.
It's written.
It's on there. Can you write it on your piece of paper?
Yeah. Nice. So that sort of made you feel not so invested in Ethan's safety because
I didn't feel invested in Ethan at all, though. He was a bit of a wanker.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're running around first person, you generally think, okay, this is me. I'm here.
Really? I just didn't like his shoes very much.
Oh, son. Well, I mean, that's the point of immersion with VR. And sometimes when you were walking around, there was nothing happening. The house was creaky, that old Resident Evil vibe. Then it was actually quite good. But him being able to survive everything, because they cut off his hand and stapled it back on so early in the game, and then did the same with his foot in my case.
Yeah, it shows how little the damage matters.
Yeah, it just shows you, okay, anything that happens to you in a cutscene doesn't matter. It will do one or two things. It'll kill you outright, or the game will automatically heal it for you anyway. So you just knew that would happen, so...
Well, those staples couldn't have been very hygienic, really.
I don't think anything was very hygienic there. I mean...
No.
Oh, speaking of that, when you chainsaw Jack, the way they got that slop to come out of him... normally, when you see blood splatter, it's just it's an alpha texture, always face camera, that just pops out. Bleh. But they made it look really thick and viscous.
Oh, it was gooey. I wanted to poke it.
It looked really good.
I got my face right in that. I was like, ugh. It's good.
What do you think of the boss fights with Jack?
The boss fights in general, I feel, were very typical Resi, which was dull. I never think Resi has particularly interesting bosses. 4 had some good ones, but this one, the first Jack boss fight, the garage doesn't count. It's scripted. The chainsaw thing is mostly scripted, but it's okay. It's just kick bags of meat into him and slap him a bit.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd say the first interesting true boss was probably Maggie.
Margarine. Yeah, I really liked her. The problem with games like this in this day and age is the fact that they can't be allowed to put the player in a position where they can't win the boss fight. Well,
yeah, I mean, being fair, that's not very fun though.
No, but in a like Resident Evil, usually resource management, like we talked about. It's, do I have enough bullets? Can I do this and that? Can I do that and that?
But technically, you can still stab a boss to death, except for that bat thing that did you in Zero.
Oh Jesus! And
you should have heard this man sweat as he was trying to make it through the section without getting hit, or like without losing his herb or something. It was ridiculous.
Oh man, that was shit.
Like 8 days of pain.
Yeah, and all the other Resident Evil games, you could win it with a knife. You probably can in this as well if you do some sort of weird dodging.
But, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. Could you get Marge down with a knife?
I think she's probably one of the easier ones to do it with.
I don't know. Like anytime you get closer, she's gonna give you a good old slap.
No, but well, technically you could grease play hard. Okay, so Margarine, what she does is her vag splits open and she gets a giant hive, and you can actually see her bisected labia having split open and this little beehive coming out, and that's quite gross. I really liked the boss fight with her. I thought that was one of the better ones.
See, you pay attention to this stuff. I was just a bit worried about bugs.
I didn't see it when I played, but when I saw you play, I noticed it.
Really? I was just...
You can see her split up. It's actually really, really grim.
I think they could have made her a lot creepier, but...
They could have. They could just have had random bugs plop out from her.
Well, no, they should have mangled her face up as well. You know, we were talking earlier about, like, unless you got a phobia of certain things, it's not going to really affect you.
I guess.
Like, these people, even though they're weird, they still look like regular people for the most part. Yeah, I mean, even Maggie in her second phase has like long arms, but she still looks like a person in the face.
Yeah.
If they'd have like really bugged up, like Predator faced her or something really weird, you know.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. Giving her bug eyes and maybe basically just make her a giant wasp as one.
Yeah. What she does, I mean, getting back to killing her with the knife. Sorry, I talk a lot. You can sort of. There are times where she goes over to a wall and starts moaning sensually. That's when she's trying to shit out a hive with bees. At that point, she's completely vulnerable, so you could go up to her and stab her, and it'll immediately...
I guess, but look, think how many shells it takes to take her out. It's like, it takes a lot. Like, imagine,
yes,
if we're talking Resident Evil standard, it's like one zombie equals like 12 stabs. And like, that's one shotgun shell or 3 pistol shots. Like, that'd be a lot of stabbing. I mean,
that's a lot of stabbing.
There's a lot of stabbing.
And I think they went around that. I mean, most games back in the day would go, okay, so you've been an idiot up until this point with your ammo. You've used it unnecessarily. This is how you have to do it now. So you either learned how to do it that way, or you started over.
Yeah.
But they don't want to do the start you over thing, which I think loses a bit, because a lot of the fights in this are sort of like, okay, the boss room outside will have the bare minimum of ammo you need to defeat the boss if you hit with all of it.
I see what you mean there, but also in older games sort of defense and newer games defense, like older games tended to, you could get into the gameplay a lot quicker and a lot easier. This stuff, unless you're happy to skip all the cutscenes over and over and over, which something you can't, it's gonna, you have to watch a lot to get into the game.
Can't skip a single one.
Yeah, and so imagine you get to let's say the Jack fight, right? So if you're doing this reasonably quickly, we're talking 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes.
Jack 1 through 3. Which one?
Second one, Chainsaw.
Okay.
You could probably get there in 45 minutes, 30 minutes if you motored it, probably.
Funny thing about that. In Madhouse, you can buy the, I think, Crow Key to go kill Jack earlier in the game. If you have enough coins.
Okay.
So you can actually force the boss fight pretty early and then go kill him and not have him chase you.
That's interesting, actually.
Yeah. So anyway, continue.
Yeah, so when you get to, I mean, you can get to that pretty quickly, but let's say you got there quickly and effed it up, and you didn't have the ammo to do it, and then you had to sit through all those cutscenes all over again. Now think about Resident Evil 1. To get to the very first boss, you can do it pretty quickly, but you're in the gameplay so much faster. I feel that's certainly that game lends itself better to replaying it, and it won't necessarily be so exactly the same. If you're not doing it on Madhouse, that is going to be, the layout's going to be the same, they're going to chase you the same way, the script's going to happen the same way.
The sloppers are slightly different.
Yeah, very slightly, but I mean...
We've been a bit vague here. Okay, so there's 3 fights with Jack. The first like family father guy of the Bakers. One, you fight him in a garage, which is hilarious. There's a lot of scripted stuff going on there, and there's a lot of stuff that might happen.
It's like 90% scripted, really.
Might not happen. Yeah, it's kind of funny. There's what you can do is you can actually go over, get your keys to your car, which is in the garage, and you can get in the car and you can run over Jack a lot. There's also a chance that he'll get in the car first and start doing donuts.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdly sort of stuff going on there.
The way Madhouse fucks with you with that is when you go over to the table where the key normally is, it's not there. There's a box that needs a lockpick that's hidden somewhere in the room.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that brings me back to VR, by the way. Something the game wants you to do is to go around and stick your face in absolutely everything to get items. Some of them are hidden behind stuff. Some of them are hidden under stuff. You have to go up there and stare directly at the item to find it, which I quite like, because that means if you don't clear a room, it's going to be very difficult to search. And if you run from something, you'll skip a lot of items. Yeah, so that's a good balance. That's good gameplay, I feel, because you're making decisions and you're getting the consequences of those decisions. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly think the room-to-room sort of combat style is interesting.
Yeah.
I also don't feel it punishes you for clearing a room either.
Not always. Sometimes rooms are just empty or have shit in them.
I feel if the room's empty or if it's a room full of 6 dudes you're supposed to just run through, that's your problem, really. You shouldn't have shot them. But generally speaking, I think if you've gone in a room, it's a closed room, there's one slopper in there, you're blown to bits. The game's not going to go, well, you shouldn't have shot that guy, you're now going to suffer later on. It doesn't do that, which is nice.
Yeah, but generally when there's stuff like that, the game has something called antique coins, which is it's like currency you can use to buy certain upgrades. The Magnum, health upgrades, reload upgrades, and in Madhouse, all sorts of other weird upgrades. And those are usually very well hidden. They might be hidden in an optional room where there's 6 rooms and not other stuff. So it's not always stupid to search. And I kind of like that they hit stuff like that. The problem with it is there's something called psychostimulants, an item you can just eat and see where every item is around you.
I was terrible with those. I totally hoarded them by the end of the game. I had loads left. Same.
But I also feel it detracts a bit from the game because the items are always in the same spot.
Yes, I suppose you could scum it if you really wanted to, couldn't you?
Yeah, but you'd also sort of, I can't find the last whatever. Just eat the pill, check out the house, and go, oh, okay, I know where everything is now. I like the reward of feeling of I found this thing.
Yeah. If you're looking carefully and you find the ammo you've gained on someone who hasn't necessarily done that, yeah.
Yeah, you just eat the pill, then there's also X-ray glasses you can wear that will allow you to see everything. That's one of the things you can unlock. It's like, bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what did you? Sorry, go
on. Back to Jack. I mean, we're fucking tangents. Second fight, you fight him in an arena where you try to kill him with a chainsaw, and you saw each other a bit back and forth, and he eventually his torso pops. That was also an okay fight, I thought.
It was okay. Yeah, I think okay sums up pretty much all the fights except Maggie's, which was interesting.
Yeah, I like that one.
I think to go through them very quickly, I think all the Jack ones were reasonably okay.
Last one was shit.
Last one was I think the last one was okay. It was a big creature. You had to shoot it in the bits. It was very Resident Evil. I mean, if anything, if any of the fights in that game were Resident Evil, it was that one.
Yeah.
Like, it's got weird glowing eyes like William Birkin shooting it. Like, sure, why not? That was fine. It's just I don't think they were particularly interesting.
No. I mean,
Maggie's fight was pretty cool. Lots of shrieking and stuff going on.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
The fat sloppers are just fat sloppers. I mean, what is there to say? That instead of having a claw, they goo at you, and they move slightly slower and have a bit more health. Meh, whatever.
Yeah.
The very last fight is just waste of time. Like, it's just a scripted event that you could snuff it in if you're not careful enough. Yeah. But for all intents and purposes, there's no anything to it really.
No, it's just a big deformed turd monster flailing around. It's that, and the last Jack fight did some things that I really didn't like. They often locked you in small arenas where you just stand here and shoot like a panicked man.
Yeah, at the very end of the third Jack fight, maybe, but for the rest of it, you could move around as you please, up and down.
The first two phases were good. The
last phase, that was just a scripted thing anyway, though. It's just, you're scripted, you shoot him a bit, he drops, done, you stab him.
It's like, there is a way to avoid damage. You go back and forth between slaps, but it's sort of like,
yeah.
I don't really like that. The same thing happens when you get a screwdriver stabbed through your hand, and you sit there and you can press R to try and get it out, but I don't think anything happens if you don't.
Yeah.
It's the same shit.
Yeah, it essentially doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like Marjorie's one. You essentially fight her in a giant arboreum, like a big greenhouse.
Yeah, I think it was quite a cool fight. She's reasonably creepy.
She's also interesting in that she doesn't always attack you directly. She will often crawl around and hide various places in the level to attack you, and not like in your face jump scare shit. Well, they all do that if it's like
you leave them long enough.
It's like a fighting game. If you get too close to them and stand there blocking, they'll grab you.
Yeah.
If you're at medium distance, they'll try and attack you, and then you can block that. So you sort of have to balance between the two.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah, I think out of all of them, hers is the best. I think.
Yeah.
I think overall, as far as combat goes, like I said earlier, the combat is serviceable. It does the job. It does a good job at. It has a really good depth of field effect on the combat. It looks cool. Like, your gun's very focused. Everything else is a bit blurry.
Yeah.
I like the way that Ethan isn't Chris Redfield. Basically, he's not an action hero. He just A couple of shots, he's a bit wobbly. I think again, it's perfectly adequate combat. It's if you're going to do an Amnesia style game with combat, I feel this is probably the way to do it.
Yeah, it works. I feel like if you're going to do an Amnesia-style game with combat, you would probably, like I talked about before with the location damage, do more of crippling enemies and just legging it from them.
Agreed. The game does not lend itself to crippling enemies ever. There's like I said earlier, there's absolutely no point.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to shoot that slopper in the head when you could have shot him in the leg, but why? I could do the same and shoot him in the head. It's like it's one of those defense things. The best defense is a good offense in this case, because if you're doing a defensive shot in his legs, you could have made that offensive shot in his head and he died quicker. Like, don't bother.
I mean, there are the crawly sloppers, which are the quickest sloppers that can outrun you, unlike everything else.
Even them, they have a weird wind-up animation. You can just run and they can't quite get you.
Yeah, but their head is also in the front.
So you just shoot them and
you shoot them in the head. If they had some sort of thing where you had to slow them down by shooting a leg first and then going in to shoot them in the head when they're slower, that would have been a way of adding stuff or tactics or to it. But the head is right in the front. It's the main thing you're going to hit when you shoot at them. So I also feel Jack teleports.
He does. Yeah, I was about to say all of the stalkers teleport in like slightly obnoxious ways. Haunting Ground does it better, actually. Going back to that. Haunting Ground actually has a physical location for the stalkers until a cutscene is triggered, and then they have to be there. But otherwise, they are in a real world location at all times, which is interesting. Whereas these guys, they will only patrol like a corridor or two and back again. And when you touch another door, they'll port to the other side. I mean, it's very cleverly done. It is smoke and mirrors, but it's a little bit obnoxious because it's like you can't like listen out for them properly, or because they might just warp on you, which is a bit annoying.
They'll also teleport while they're chasing you, which I found especially annoying with Jack. If you lost him out of your sight completely, like if you turned your back to him completely, he would teleport up behind you and do an attack, even though he was slower than you when you were looking at him. He does this in his boss fight as well, which is really annoying.
Yeah, he does. I gotta be honest, it's one of those things I can see why they've done it, but I don't necessarily care for it.
Yeah, I don't really know. But it's one of those things, it's like, you look at it, I mean, we're talking about Resident Evil 7 here, so there's not going to be any realism, but I feel like the game should at least adhere to some rules. If you as a player look at a thing that mirrors something in the real world, you would think, I can probably do this with that, and then you go over into Act, and generally you do that with that. So you turn your back to someone and start running, you would not expect them to teleport behind you. And it's never explained in universe why he can do that. It's just one of those things you go sort of, oh, I guess don't.
It's just a gameplay mechanic because that's how it works. Yeah, exactly. And I don't necessarily mind that. I don't need everything to be explained. Why can Jack suddenly move between floors, or why can he suddenly do this quicker? I mean, most of it is going to be because they needed him to be in the right place because they can't track the players very well.
Yeah, it's also kind of dumb because when he finally spots you, you can either exploit him or shoot him. You can't really run away. There are probably ways to do it.
But again, don't bother shooting. There's no reason to shoot. They don't give you a good reason to shoot them particularly. No. He spots you. Okay, go to the save room. He's gone again. Move back. Like once he's left the screen, he warps away again. He zips off to another part of the house. It doesn't matter. You can shoot them, but why? There's no point shooting at something in a game with limited ammo when you don't need to.
Yeah.
I got the problem where I had like a million bits of ammo at the end of the game. But
in the beginning, you can go, okay, because in the beginning you don't know. You sort of have that unknown feeling in the back of your head, which is good. I like that, where you go, will ammo work? Will this do? You shoot him in the head and he goes, that gun's not going to work the way you think, boy. And then you go, oh, okay. Yeah. Well, fuck it then. There's all doubt out my window, out the fucking window. What did you think of the VCRs?
Padding mostly. I liked the Happy Birthday one. Yeah. I thought that was quite neat. The one with Mia's in the boat was a bit tedious with Alan. I genuinely thought they were a bit tedious. I don't particularly care for this kind of thing. I essentially you end up playing the same section twice.
Yeah, sort of.
In reality, it's slightly different, sure, but for all intents and purposes. So instead of me wondering what to do, I kind of know what to do because they've shown it to me in a video where the items don't matter and the health doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's kind of like cryostasis, but a little worse, that mechanic.
Amazingly, yeah.
Cryostasis was a good game. It didn't run well, but it was good.
It ran like ass. It was an interesting game. I'm still of mixed mind of Cryostasis, even after all these years.
It had cool mechanics.
It did. It had cool because of the frosting.
The thing that bugged me about the VCR shit was that it didn't stay consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens in Resident Evil 7, here's the full spoiler, is your girlfriend works for this company that have made a bioweapon which has taken the form as a little girl. The point of this bioweapon is to infiltrate and mind control. It is not actually a weapon per se in the direct sense. It is a controller that you put in someone's government and then have them do stupid shit. Because she says to do stupid shit, which she's quite good at, but it's also kind of a shitter. And in that way, it infects people and makes them do stuff that she wants. And this little girl really, well, she isn't a real little girl, but that's the form they decided she needed. So they gave her. And they decided that she wanted a family, she decided. And she started attacking people and turning them. And the Bakers is her attempt at making a family. She always thought Mia, which is the main character's girlfriend, would be her mother. But she substitutes the Baker, Marjorie, Jack, Zoe, and Lucas as a family until she gets Mia to call Ethan in, and then he will be the dad, and Mia will be the father, the mother, and that's sort of how she works. She can mind control and do stuff. As such, she does hallucinations every now and then. It's established in the game that whenever you see her, it's a hallucination because she can fuck with your head. She doesn't mind control you directly, she just forces you to do stuff. So she can't read your mind. But yeah, and in some of the fucking videos, you see her. It's supposed to be Mia running around with a camera, and you see Evelyn pop up, which shouldn't be able to happen because it's a fucking hallucination. And a hallucination...
Everything to do with Evelyn is terrible.
Yes.
There's not a single decent part that she is in. It's all dreadful. It's all Alma Mark II, but worse.
I like the grandmother when you just thought she was a grandmother. That was good. That was okay. Evelyn's turned old, so she's a grandmother you see around the house. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
Somebody wanted a spooky little girl in there, and they wrote the game around it to get that in there. It's just like it just doesn't. None of it's all the infection angle was cooler until you realize it's just Evelyn with fungus monsters.
Yeah, it was, but it's, the VCR shit. I mean, there were two VCR things that were
Evelyn,
good.
whatever.
Evelyn, what the fuck? What fungus lady? Sponge cake.
Mushroom woman.
Yeast infection. She sort of. There were two videos that were done well. There was the beginning one with the reporters coming into the house fucking around. That was cool because that was actually a guy holding a camera doing stuff.
Yeah, that was cool.
Then there was one where Lucas, which is the Saw section of the game, he fucks around with a dude and have him go through a gauntlet while he films it.
That dude is the camera guy.
Yeah, that's Clancy. That's the same camera guy from the
that's right.
And then there's a section where Mia's supposedly filming something, but it quickly turns into a GoPro that's attached to her head that can see what she sees, even though it's not physically there. And then the videotape somehow makes itself convert to VHS because GoPros.
Those are all done, but again, I can see why they do it, because it'd be super annoying to have such a long section look like ass.
Yeah, I can sort of understand it as well, but it didn't stay very consistent, which annoys me a little. It takes me out of it a little bit, which is important to not do in a horror game. Should
we overrule it a bit, because I feel we might have rambled a smidge?
I have a few things more than when we're done.
Alright.
Zoe and Mia. You came there for your wife. You get Zoe is a baker girl that helps you. She's generally helpful throughout the game. She's cryptic, but that's her main fault. Mia tries to kill you a few times and is generally not very helpful. And you get 2 doses of a cure. One you're forced to use on a boss. You have one left, and towards the end of the game, in the last third, you're asked to choose between Mia and Zoe which one to cure. And one choice is a non-choice. The other choice is the correct choice for the good ending. If you choose Mia, the person who has been a dick up until that point, you get the good ending. If you choose Zoe, she will die immediately after anyway, and you'll get the bad ending.
It's such a non-choice. It's just pointless anyway. Just like a lot of the things of the game. Why bother doing something like it's?
Yeah, it's completely stupid. Especially because supposedly, the only way you can see people are dead properly is they calcify. And it says in a bunch of the documents you find that when the longer you've been under the influence of this shit, the more far gone you are, and you can't be saved with the cure. Mia was
should have been the longest.
Yeah, she had that a few days longer than Zoe, and Zoe dies immediately when she gets the cure, and then you get an ending where Mia doesn't show up in the ending and is saved for some reason, even though the exact same things happen to her.
Although they do mention that Eve, Evelyn, whatever, doesn't infect her for quite a long time, due to the fact that she wanted to keep her uninfected or something.
When she gets infected, you see it. You see it in the flashback.
What, because she can see the hallucinations?
Well, that too, but you also get slopped. You get slopped.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
like,
you're
you're
right. Yeah,
I'm slopped.
Yeah, of course you are.
Yeah. So, but I mean, the control wasn't that bad, so I suppose she didn't grow the fungus as well. But she didn't really care about Zoe either. Zoe was mainly let to go around and do stuff that she wanted to do. She didn't care too much about.
Didn't seem to at all. In fact, no.
No, she didn't seem to be controlled by Evelyn at all, or that Evelyn just ignored her and didn't try to control her because she didn't care about her. She was not part of the family. Okay, let's do DLC and then we wrap up, yes?
Yeah.
I would say the DLC is shit. I haven't played any of it, but I've seen people play it. It's expensive. It seems like the sort of mini-games that you normally unlock after beating the game in regular Resident Evils, like Mercenaries mode, the second...
Tofu.
The third and fourth, like you said, Survivor. Stuff like that. It's just dumb shit. It's tiny tidbits. I saw the one that shows briefly what happens to the Bakers when Evelyn arrives, which is pretty much just them in a house, they're eating, you see them before for 2 minutes, then Jack comes in and goes, like, shit, I found this girl in the bog, and then you play as Zoe for 10 minutes, and then that's it.
Should have, but yeah, I mean, charging for that kind of thing, I feel, is always a bit...
Yeah.
Especially, like, just get a chance to rag on Mass Effect 3 again. Especially when the game launches with DLC, basically, which is what this has done, for all intents and purposes. It should be included. There is no good reason why it's not included. It's silly. And the fact they're doing the free DLC with the guy at the end makes it even stranger. Like, what?
Yeah, but because that's the only DLC I'm interested in. The other stuff is just like dumb gamers, like give Jack cake or some dumb shit. You have to find cake for him. It's his birthday. He's sitting with a party hat, and you have to put food in him. It's just dumb. And I suppose it's one of those sort of, you look at it and you go, this is not worth it individually, but if I had a season path, maybe. It's to get you to buy that, I suppose. But
Could be, yeah.
Oh yeah, the guy at the ending, to wrap up. A guy shows up in an Umbrella helicopter and introduces himself as Redfield. There was a lot of speculation that was Hunk, a recurring character. That works for Umbrella, who you only see twice with his helmet off. Once was supposedly at the end of Resident Evil 7, and the other time is in the ending, when you get an ending for the other survivors of Resident Evil 2, there's a little...
And you don't see him very well, do you?
Yeah, you see him fine. He's sitting there. Yeah, he looks almost like the guy calling himself Redfield at the end of Resident Evil.
Let's have a look.
Just Google Hunk ending. Anyone?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks almost like the Chris.
Yeah, he does actually.
Yeah. Capcom have confirmed that it is Chris, and
it's a shame, really.
The voice actor who does Chris in Inglourious Nippon, The Cursed Isle of Japan, is the same one who voices him in this. It's not the same English voice actor, but I think that's incidental. So supposedly it is him. That would have been cool if it had been Hunk, I think.
It would have been cool.
I have no idea why they had to cram Chris in there. I would have liked that to be a bait and switch, but apparently it isn't.
We can just pretend that Revelations 2 is the real ending and then Hunk shoots people.
If you're looking at this later,
the
DLC where you play as him has not come out yet, so don't get at us if it turns out to be someone that's not.
They didn't actually pull out leg, yeah.
Because this is just for now.
That ain't fair. We can't fix that. No. I can put an annotation. Oh, they took that off now, actually. No, okay, just don't grag on us about that.
Okay, so to sum this up,
I feel like we've been very negative actually, but it is good.
Yeah, but it is good. It's atmospheric. It's good. There's some minor things. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like pizza. It's good. It's good because it's pizza, but it might not be a very interesting pizza.
That's a dreadful. Why not? Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I would if it gets under 30 euros or your whatever it is at your place, I would say play it. Fuck it. I mean, go for it.
I'd say play it anyway. I like I said, a 7 or a 6. Like, I think it's a decent game.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't bring anything new to the table at all.
No.
It does. There's not a single unique, interesting bone in that sense in its body. However, that does not mean it's a bad game. It's we're talking about, the combat is serviceable. It's decent. You know, the story is interesting enough to keep you going.
Yeah.
There's replayability to it. There's some free DLC coming out. And you can ignore the paid DLC.
Not as much replayability as Revelations had with the.
Well, no, that's just wonderful though.
With their multiplayer modes.
Raid mode was just like.
Yeah. And you can do that in multiplayer, so there was a lot of stuff to do there. That's why I'm saying
we did that. In fact, I think we did a couple of videos on it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was good.
I mean, that's why I'm saying 30 euros or less.
Yeah,
but
overall, like, even though we have been relatively picky at it, it is a good game. I did enjoy my time with it. I did enjoy the LP. I just think it's not without problems.
No, we're also picky about it because we're
fans.
We're fans, yes. So we're gonna rag on it more.
Yeah,
also,
definitely. Yeah.
At the end, you get the serum that's supposed to fuck Evelyn over. And he stabs her in the neck with it.
Yeah.
And then presses the plunger on the hypodermic.
Yeah.
And what he does is an hallucination he stabs. But it turns out Grandma was actually sitting where the hallucination was.
Lucky, really.
Fuck for that, right?
Yes, you can imagine. Like, he's not too sure. He just plunges it, just squirts onto the ground. He's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, what a dumbass. Anyway, we've been an hour.
Shall
we wrap it up?
Yeah, thanks for listening to our little ramble. It's been fun to talk about Resi. Actually, thank you for joining me. Or me joining you, whichever.
Well, yeah, whatever. I mean,
yeah.
Time's on. GN, man.
Yeah, peace. All right, cheers.